Ever notice how some Hollywood stories sparkle on the surface but hide a whirlwind of secrets underneath? That's exactly what's happening with the new live-action adaptation of Snow White. On paper, it's a fairy tale that's been beloved for generations. Behind the scenes, though, the cast is entangled in a web of political tensions, social media shade, and a casting choice that sparked more controversy than anyone at Disney probably bargained for. By the end of this story, you'll see how one film became a lightning rod for debates about authenticity, representation, and who really owns these timeless tales. It all started when Rachel Zegler, who plays the title role in this new retelling, posted a heartfelt tribute on her Instagram. She was celebrating the official release of Snow White and reflecting on the 4 years spent filming. There were glowing words, behind-the-scenes photos, and sweet messages for the lovely humans who made the movie possible. For fans who follow Rachel closely, it was the kind of genuine, appreciative post you'd expect from an actress stepping into the biggest role of her career, but something was missing. Actually, someone. Gal Gadot, the film's evil queen and Rachel's co-lead, didn't even receive a single mention. No tag, no shout-out, not even a throwback selfie from the set. Fans wasted no time calling attention to the glaring omission, wondering if it was just an innocent oversight or an intentional snub. Within hours, the comment sections were loaded with speculation, and people were asking, why would you leave out a co-star who shares top billing? Rumors started swirling. Was there tension on set that nobody had noticed before? Did Rachel simply forget? Or was this part of something bigger brewing beneath Disney's polished exterior? Before long, the discussion about a missing Instagram tag morphed into a full-blown breakdown of Rachel and Gal's personal lives. Gal is Israeli and has been vocal in her support for her home country. Meanwhile, Rachel's public stance has leaned toward Palestine, and her Free Palestine tweet was anything but subtle. Though these political views might seem distant from a Disney fairy tale, they reportedly clashed head-on during production, creating a divide on set. Differences in lifestyle didn't help either. Gal, at 39, is a mother of 4 and has navigated the Hollywood circuit for years. She brings a certain poise and experience that come from juggling family life with blockbuster success. Rachel, in her early 20s, is a rising star still learning how to manage red carpets, career pressures, and her blossoming celebrity. With such a gap in age and personal circumstances, it's no wonder the synergy between them might have felt off. Insiders whispered that there were days on set when everyone walked on eggshells to keep the peace. The attitude wasn't so much, we're a big family, but more, we're professionals and we'll get through the shoot. By the time filming wrapped, the tension might have been overshadowed by the movie's hype, but it never truly went away. If the social media snub fueled speculation, the premiere in Los Angeles a few days before the film's release nearly confirmed it for fans. Both actresses posed for the cameras as expected, sporting dazzling outfits and carefully practiced smiles. But those who follow celebrity body language were convinced something was off. Instead of playful banter or friendly warmth, the interactions looked more like two people tolerating each other for the sake of professionalism. It wasn't a blatant feud. There was no dramatic confrontation in front of photographers, but the energy between them felt ice cold. Observers noticed the way they stood just a bit too far apart and how they avoided eye contact except when necessary. Typically, co-stars in a Disney movie exude a cheerful camaraderie that underscores the film's magical tone. This time, fans saw stiff postures and polite clapping, with no genuine spark of unity. Some insisted it was all in people's heads, but the photographs told a different story. In subsequent interviews, Rachel tried to steer the conversation toward female empowerment and how women are often pitted against each other in Hollywood. She said it's vital to champion fellow actresses rather than tear them down. However, she never once mentioned Gal by name. For onlookers, that only deepened the mystery. Was Rachel gently hinting at what was happening behind the scenes? Or was she hoping to bury the controversy under a broader message of sisterhood? If the social media snub fueled speculation, the premiere in Los Angeles a few days before the film's release nearly confirmed it for fans. Both actresses posed for the cameras as expected, sporting dazzling outfits and carefully practiced smiles. But those who follow celebrity body language were convinced something was off. Instead of playful banter or friendly warmth, the interactions looked more like two people tolerating each other for the sake of professionalism. It wasn't a blatant feud. There was no dramatic confrontation in front of photographers, but the energy between them felt ice cold. Observers noticed the way they stood just a bit too far apart and how they avoided eye contact except when necessary. Typically, co-stars in a Disney movie exude a cheerful camaraderie that underscores the film's magical tone. This time, fans saw stiff postures and polite clapping, with no genuine spark of unity. Some insisted it was all in people's heads, but the photographs told a different story. In subsequent interviews, Rachel tried to steer the conversation toward female empowerment and how women are often pitted against each other in Hollywood. She said it's vital to champion fellow actresses rather than tear them down. However, she never once mentioned Gal by name. For onlookers, that only deepened the mystery. Was Rachel gently hinting at what was happening behind the scenes? Or was she hoping to bury the controversy under a broader message of sisterhood? Even before the rumors of off-camera tension erupted, Rachel's role as Snow White had set the internet ablaze. The very name Snow White has long evoked the image of a princess with skin as white as snow. The animated original from 1937 leaned heavily on that complexion-based identity, which only added fuel to the arguments popping up online. When Disney announced Rachel's casting back in June 2021, reactions were immediately split. Some fans applauded the decision, celebrating the presence of a Latina actress in a realm typically dominated by pale-skinned princesses. Others, including conservative commentators, saw this as Disney abandoning the character's original essence in favor of a more diverse image. Ben Shapiro was among the most vocal critics, insisting that straying from Snow White's core description was misguided. Rachel, for her part, stood by Disney's choice in her own performance. She spoke openly about how meaningful it was to see someone who looked like her in a role that kids worldwide would watch. From her perspective, representation wasn't about discarding the story's roots. It was about refreshing a classic for a broader audience. She acknowledged that not everyone supported the change, but insisted that talent and vision should overshadow skin tone in casting decisions. The updated plot also stirred debate. In this new retelling, Snow White isn't defined by her beauty. She isn't dreaming of Prince Charming or waiting passively for someone to rescue her. Instead, her name Snow White is tied to a childhood experience of surviving a perilous snowstorm, making her resilience, rather than her appearance, the foundation of her identity. Rachel explained that the creative team wanted this version of Snow White to reflect modern values, centering on strength, agency, and personal growth. She spoke passionately about how young women today need stories that remind them of their own power. The notion of fairest of them all was reinterpreted, shifting focus from external beauty to internal determination. Gal's evil queen, meanwhile, obsesses over a mirror that still speaks of who's fairest, but the definition of that word has evolved to something deeper than skin tone. Critics argued that Disney was bending so far to appear woke that it sacrificed the fairy tale essence. Some felt the classic storyline was integral to the character's charm, and that changing fundamental elements was pandering. Others embraced the new direction, seeing it as a natural evolution of storytelling traditions that date back to the 1800s. Like all adaptations, this film walked the line between preserving a legacy and pioneering a fresh take, and not everyone was on board. Taken together, the political tensions, rumored personal conflicts, and modernized story created a cultural tug-of-war that reflects the broader shifts happening in entertainment. Audiences are more vocal than ever about what they expect, whether it's authentic representation, faithful adherence to beloved tales, or some balance in between. Producers, directors, and actors find themselves navigating an environment where every creative decision can spark a backlash or ignite cheers. Gal and Rachel's public images became symbols of that split. Gal's background and established career represent one segment of Hollywood power, shaped by tradition and experience. Rachel's youthful perspective and readiness to champion change echo a newer generation that questions if these fairy tale templates should remain frozen in time. The friction between them, whether real or exaggerated, underscores the anxieties and hopes fueling the broader conversation about evolving classics. Disney is at the center of this cultural storm. Again, as a global brand, it must figure out how to keep longtime fans happy while appealing to new audiences that demand inclusivity and more progressive storytelling. How the company handles Snow White will likely influence its future projects, informing how it reimagines other classics and how it coordinates its diverse cast members who may hold sharply different worldviews. Ultimately, this modern fairy tale reveals just how complicated it can be to bring a cherished story into the 21st century. The rumors of a feud between Gal and Rachel point to deeper questions about how people with opposing beliefs can work together in a high-stakes creative environment. The casting debates highlight the fine line between honoring tradition and fostering progress, and the film's rewritten plot challenges viewers to think about about whether timeless stories should remain locked in the past or grow to reflect changing values. What started as a simple adaptation turned into a battleground for cultural identity, representation, and authenticity. All the whispers, snubs, and side-eye glances might seem petty on the surface, but they mirror a broader moment in Hollywood and society as a whole. In the end, whether you cheer for Rachel as a bold reimagining of a classic or miss the Snow White you grew up with, one thing is certain: these conversations aren't going away. They're setting the stage for the next wave of storytelling, where every decision, big or small, can become the spark that ignites a massive debate. Snow White's journey has always been one of transformation, whether it's from a poisoned sleep to true love's kiss, or from a fragile princess into a determined heroine. Now it symbolizes another kind of transformation, an industry and audience wrestling with modern realities, while trying to hold on to the magic that made us love these tales in the first place. And perhaps that's the real story worth watching, not just who's on the poster or who gets the next close-up, but how the world of fantasy can adapt to a reality that keeps on changing.